wasn't a general. He wasn't on the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and he becomes the Secretary of the Department of Defense, which is a very, very important agency. So to give one person that unfettered power of rulemaking, of making decisions on these important issues, really a clear and present danger for our democracy. So instead of having two parties where you have subject matter expertise, you have Democrats and Republicans learning from one another, hearing from one another, having people with expertise in the area. It's basically up to the whim of the president to whoever he wants. And, we can see from the history that it may not be somebody with the appropriate expertise, and it's certainly a danger to all of us. And the final thing I'll say is that, these are the things that are really important because particularly we're talking about environmental protection. I can tell you from where I sit, from Ohio, basically we almost killed the Great Lake. Lake Erie, which is the shottless Great Lake. It was so polluted that the river that led to it caught on fire. So that's when the Environmental Protection Agency was passed. And that's also, an agency of the federal government. So what this court is doing is taking this power from Congress and giving it all to the executive, which is problematic in my view.
From my perspective, and thanks so much, Marlon, Attorney Primes, your last point was that they are taking the power from Congress. Congress is ceding its power to this authoritarian president that we have in office. And all of this was predicted, and it goes back to as early as 1971, Project 2025. The whole notion of this unitary presidents, and this current president is pushing as far as he can. Every day we're seeing an additional, action that he is taking, which is frankly outright illegal, right? And so this whole Humphrey case, which the Supreme Court is poised to reconsider, would reverse over 90 years of precedent. In the Humphrey case, the court determined that that the U.S. Constitution allows Congress to enact laws limiting the ability of the U.S. president to fire executive officials of an independent agency or quasi-independent agency, that those decisions are beyond the control, outside of the control of the president, for all the reasons that Attorney Primes set forth. We have a Federal Drug Administration, the FDA, which was established to ensure the appropriate regulation of drugs in this country, to ensure safety in the best interest of the public. The Federal Trade Commission, Attorney Primes has discussed in terms of limiting attempts of monopolization. The Securities Exchange Commission, independent federal agency. We have the Consumer Product Safety Commission, whose role and purpose is to protect consumers with respect to products that are disseminated into the marketplace. And so this is why the Humphrey case, and in that case, I believe it was FDR who wanted to fire one of the FTC commissioners, Attorney Primes, because he felt like he wasn't appropriately committed to his New Deal policies, right? And so Humphrey was a conservative Republican in the facts of the Humphrey case. And so this is why, Congress passed legislation.
Did we lose Attorney Banks?
Yeah, I
I'm
think we
sorry.
may have. We lose Attorney Banks.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, go
Yes.
ahead.
Okay. And this is why Congress enacted legislation that limits the president's executive control and authority to fire commissioners or other federal officials in independent agencies that we've designated for only for cause. And we've seen him try to do that as well, right? To say that he's firing, for example, Lisa Cook, who is on the Federal Reserve Board for cause, allegedly for cause. But I'll stop there.
Okay. For our listening audience, I think that I need to explain what the branches of governments are. I learned firsthand that I saw Senator Tommy Tuberville did not know the three branches of government and how they function. It was shocking to me watching that on TV. But
Shameful.
our branches of government consist of an executive branch. The executive branch is headed up by the President of the United States. And the executive branch is supposed to serve also as a chief law enforcement official during the appointment process. And, and so the second part of government is the legislative branch, which consists of the House and the Senate. The Senate is responsible for affirming or allowing people to serve in advisory capacity for the president, such as Secretary of Defense and all those major departments, FBI, these major agencies. And then the third branch of government, of course, is the judiciary branch. These are supposed to be co-equal branches of government. And what has occurred is that what councils are describing is the fact that we've had a radical departure from the way government's supposed to work. So, in other words, we had the judicial branch, even though all the judges say that they would, not deal with the Roe versus Wade situation that dealt with abortion rights of women to make decisions themselves for their own body. And that case got thrown out by the current court. The legislative branch of government uh, has been described by some commentators as, quote, a lapdog for the president. And so the executive branch of government, each day we see decisions being made that is contrary to norm. Like, for example, they're bombing boats near Venezuela. The boats, for example, don't have the capacity to make it to the United States. They have to refuel, I've seen by some experts, between 20 to 30 times. And most disturbing, of course, is that they've yet to produce any drugs that they're murdering people for. So it's not a war crime what they're doing. That's called murder because we're not at war with Venezuela. And so the problem I'm having, though, is that I think that we're doing so many abnormal things that we must tell everybody in terms of a civic lesson in a government is that that's the way government is supposed to run. There's used to be three co-equal branches of government, and now we've lost that. And somehow every day I wake up, and it seems like everybody forgetting that these branches of government are supposed to function like independently and have some power. But we're seeing that they've all been merged. And the danger that we're headed is that it's almost like we're in some type of dictatorship today or something. It's just getting ludicrous. But that's my comment on that issue. Now, Attorney Banks, the next issue has to do with you raised the issue about Rob Reiner's murder there in LA. What did you learn from that?
Well, first, let me say that the uh, tragic killing of Rob and Michelle Reiner this week was just so totally devastating to so many of us across the nation and the world. But I'll speak for myself, right? Um, we've known Rob Reiner. Have known him from the All in the Family days, right? When he was the son-in-law of Archie Bunker, and he was a progressive. He advocated for progressive principles at that time. So beloved actor, beloved director, So many movies we grew up on, whether it's when Harry Met Sally or A Few Good Men with Tom Cruise. Um, and just from everything that I've read over the years, just a wonderful person and family. Um, as we're learning, his son was a victim of mental illness, and the family had tried to, work with him over the years. I learned that in 2015, Rob Reiner and his son collaborated on a documentary which mirrored the many challenges that was loosely based, if you will, on the challenges that they faced as the family fighting the son's addiction. He had been homeless. Just a heartbreaking, tragic situation. Um, and we saw this week that the son, Nick Reiner, has been charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. Uh, Life sentence, and if special circumstances might even warrant the death penalty. We saw him, or we didn't see him, in contrast to um, our discussion last week regarding our Michigan coach Moore. But there are semi-different there's difference. This does entail a contrasting situation, but you will note that Nick Reiner did not appear on camera. He appeared, behind um, a screen of some sort, and he's been on suicide watch. He was represented by counsel, and I'm thinking, given the fact that it was stated that he had been suffering from schizophrenia, that there may be the formulation of an affirmative defense to these horrific killings of potentially not guilty by reason of insanity. I took a quick look at California law, and it follows the McNaughton rule, which states that the jury can return a verdict of, not guilty by reason of insanity. And the burden of proof um, is that the individual mental condition and mental state was so diseased that they could not appreciate or understand um, the actions. And and some definition of the insanity uh, defense suggests that because of the condition of the mind, the disease condition, that the perpetrator could not form an intention to commit the acts that they committed. So we'll see what happens as this heartbreaking case continues to unfold.
Yeah, I just think it's just a tragedy. This is a family that has disintegrated, and our hearts should go out to that family and people that have been inspired by Rob Reiner. And it just kind of reminds me of a famous saying that, and it kind of goes to the unfortunate comment of our president about this tragedy. He wasn't the consoler in chief. He really kind of, tried to tie this to conspiracy theories and, talking about, Rob Reiner, which I thought was inappropriate. And the quote, I would say that when the good Lord places his hand on the shoulder of your enemy, it's time to take yours off. And I think that President's comments were totally out of line. very unpresidential. There certainly will be times, after there's appropriate services for Rob Reiner to really talk about his legacy, but to denigrate him at this time, I thought was just a foul blow and an inappropriate one in my view.
It was shameful. Call it what it is. Now, let's talk to Imhotep. You have a question coming for us today, sir. Go ahead.
Good morning, my good people, my esteemed attorneys. We sure appreciate you all. We've been in the dark so much around here about things, and especially from a legal perspective, and hearing it from you all, it really helps us out. Very disturbing piece this morning from Reuters, but Reuters got a pay ball, so I had to go to Human Resources Today. Matter of fact, it's their trade publication. From Ms. Andrea Lucas, the chairwoman of the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. She says in 2026, she's going to take out a blowtorch and pretty much be on the attack of companies and making sure that Trump's anti-DEI policies are put in effect. She's going to encourage white women, white men to file reverse discrimination claims. She's going to basically, quote, apply a more conservative view to civil rights, unquote. We saw the unemployment rate ticked up this week. Black Americans, 8.3%, the highest since pre-pandemic levels. We see what's happening with college graduates not even getting callbacks. Where are we at? Is there any way we can, well, it seems like from a legislative point of view, we're just not able to do anything. But I keep calling on boycotts. I keep calling on making sure that we're boycotting. King said 3 phases that the unheard get heard: protests, boycotts, and voting. We need more. Make sure we push voting. We see protests, but we got to boycott. This is crazy. If any companies, Costco and Apple have pledged that they're going to stay with their DI efforts, and we applaud them for that. But other companies, we need to get a coalition together and probably call them to the carpet. Where are you staying? What are you saying? This woman, Andrea Lucas, I didn't know who she was at first. That's why, you got to read every day. You learn something. But now after reading this long piece, and then from the Human Resources Trade publication, companies are scared. Human Resource departments, they're worried. They're worried. So it's an existential problem, Nate. And I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts about this. Thank you for taking my call.
I've not followed Andrea Lucas, the chair of the U.S. Employment Opportunity Commission. They formerly used to investigate claims for discrimination, but I know that from reading counsel that there's been a constant attack on diversity and inclusion and fair treatment of African Americans. And so there's so many news items where we see this constant attack that we see the ability for us to elevate during our lifetime is being diminished for our children and grandchildren. The attack constantly on diversity and inclusion, and we see an adverse effect on college admission, professional schools, and even in employment opportunity. When Attorney Banks should talk about the unemployment rate of African American now at a historical high, well, that's directly related to that. Remember that the federal government was a big source of employment for particularly educated African American females. Then we see over 300,000 of those highly talented and trained women lose their job within 6-7 months of the Trump administration. So the reason we see the Black unemployment rate escalating is that is a direct effect of these attacks on minority rights in the employment sector And so now what they're trying to do is use that as an excuse to terminate folks or lay them off based on the color of their skin. America is going in reverse on this issue. We made some significant progress between the late 60s and around 2020, and or up until 24 rather. And now we've seen this dramatic rollback in those rights. And I'm not sure where this process is going to end up at, but we see it every day and the harmful effect to our community. So the Black increase in unemployment is just one factor, just one, in this equation. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better, because we see the list of opportunity being reduced. If we can't get more Blacks into professional schools, for example, in any community, folks, in any community, this is important. You could tell the wealth of the community based upon the average educational level. So, for example, if you had a community with 100 person and 90 of those persons had advanced degrees like doctors, lawyers, PhDs, engineers, MBAs, that would likely be an affluent community. But on the other hand, if you had a community where people consisted largely of high school dropout or highest level attained is high school education, that community statistically would be financially much below the one with educated. So if we're denied the opportunity to attend colleges, university, and obtain degrees and advanced degrees, then you're going to see a steady increase in the Black unemployment. And even the job they're working is going to be the lower paying position. So we're in a situation now, attorneys, that I don't see the pushback, particularly from our civil rights partners in our community. I just don't see it. I think that it's a terrible ordeal that we're witnessing every day.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
agree. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Attorney Crimes.
Yes, I agree that the whole issue in terms of DEI that you and I have talked about in terms of Attorney Lee is really problematic. And I think there's a couple things that I want to say on this point. Your audience should know a name, and his name is Christopher Rufo, R-U-F-O. And this is somebody who just single-handedly really made the term, diversity, equity, inclusion toxic, and that was his goal. So, the whole idea in terms of DEI is that if you really look at, our colleges and universities around the country, and you look at a line of demarcation, if you look at those photographs of those graduating classes, there were no women, there were no people of color. And it was only after the Civil Rights Act and President Lyndon Baines Johnson's executive order that there were affirmative steps to cast a wide net to make sure that everyone was getting an opportunity. You hear stories like Sandra Day O'Connor, who finished in the top of her class, couldn't find a job. Thurgood Marshall couldn't get into the University of Maryland. So that's what DEI is about. And so instead of really telling those stories, that, hey, it's a matter of making sure that, hey, we're not just giving one race or one demographic the opportunity, we're giving everyone the opportunity. And you have to be qualified first. And we're just looking and making sure that everyone has the opportunity. So what's unfortunately happened is that, Christopher Rufo, his goal has been met. The term DEI now is toxic. And as you indicated, Attorney Lee, you now have, the state of Indiana, as you indicated before, saying that, hey, if you have any DEI programs, you're not going to be able to get, state contracts, which is outrageous. And it's something that we really need to fight and be cognizant about, because it's not saying that you are being discriminatory. All it's saying is that we don't want to go back to the 1950s. We don't want to go back to that time where no one that looked like you or me had the opportunity to even apply. So casting a wide net is not discriminatory. It's simply making sure that we're being fair, and that if we're doling out tax dollars, whether it be government contracts for law firms, or whether it be opportunities to attend state universities, that should be done on an equal basis. And you can't do that unless you have diversity, equity, and inclusion program to make sure that everyone's getting the opportunity to get in the door, and that everyone's getting the opportunity to make sure that they're evaluated fairly, so they're able to do those jobs and matriculate through these universities successfully. And so what the EEOC is doing, that goes to the question of the caller, is they're trying to turn that all on its head. They're following Christopher Rufo's view of the world and believing that the term diversity, equity, and inclusion is divisive, and it means that I'm discriminating against someone who's white, when nothing could be further from the truth. So it's really important in terms of, if we want to effectuate change in our communities, we need to educate people about, hey, what is the true intent of these particular laws? They were never meant to be exclusionary. They were meant so that we don't have situations like Sandra Day O'Connor, well, she can't get a job opportunity because she's a woman, or African Americans couldn't get job opportunities. And we don't want to go back to those times. So I think we all that are listening to the show, if you want to effectuate change, educating other people that may not know what this means in terms of diversity, equity, inclusion, let them understand the true history.
That's absolutely spot on, Attorney Primes. And of course, I agree with everything that you said wholeheartedly. One of my questions is, okay, who wouldn't want diversity, equity, or inclusion? I think we necessarily have to change the narrative, as you stated. We have to educate and inform people regarding what the intention of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, what the intentions and mission was and is. And again, it wasn't for unqualified people getting opportunities in corporate America, for example, or access to federal contracts. It was for individuals that had been historically underrepresented and not being extended the opportunity to achieve those roles. And we know, and there's going to be even more data coming out on this. Well, let me go back and just talk about the current data, which stands for the proposition that diverse teams, heterogeneous teams, achieve greater profits than homogeneous teams. And in this global market economy, that is critically important. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, historically had been stated as a moral imperative, and equally as importantly, it's a business imperative. If businesses want to win in our global marketing environment, they necessarily must embrace diversity, equity, and inclusive principles, because that's how you win in the marketplace. So we have to change that narrative. And also, we know that diversity, equity, and inclusion has benefited white women significantly, helping them to advance in leadership in corporate America and achieve greater representation in C-suite roles. Although we do know that, as with all women, gender-based disparities still exist. And in addition to white women, diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives benefits veterans across our nation and our world who have fought to keep us safe and ensure that they have equal opportunities. as well as individuals that are challenged with disabilities. And so these initiatives benefit everyone. And from my perspective, are essential to and the framework and groundwork of our democracy. And I agree that those businesses that don't that aren't committed to our goals. I was just reading about AT&T today that has just withdrawn its diversity and inclusion programs. We have to understand that for African Americans, we have $1 trillion plus economic power. And we have to utilize that power with patronizing those businesses that support us.
Excellent point. And that's why I'm a member of Costco. Okay, caller, you have a question or comment for us today. Go ahead.
Hi, good morning. This is Renee Schalk. I just wanted to say thank you again for the show that you do. It helps us out legally because it seems like the only branch of government of the three branches that is standing up to this administration is the judicial branch. So I always tell people I'm not a lawyer, but I've sat on the couch long enough to have to listen to attorneys talk that I got a couch legal degree. So anyway, but I did want to pass on some good news and then I'm going to hang up. So the good news is that there are a lot of seats that are being flipped on local levels. You got like state seats, House seats, and all of them that are being flipped from like 45 plus Trump wins to actually winning by like double digits. And so I think because of that effect, that's why you're seeing a lot of Republicans deciding that they're going to resign and leave. And some of the top ones, it should be noted that that's significant. Also, Elise Stefanik dropped out of the gubernatorial race and she decided she's also going to leave Congress. Those are all good signs. And so I think although all of this looks like...
She's also going to leave Congress also, or she's going to stay in Congress?
Yes. No, she's leaving. She says she's resigning Congress. So basically, like MTG, they see what's coming. They understand that this ship is getting ready to hit an iceberg. And so they're taking their... I think MTG made $25 million while she was in Congress. And so she's taking her bank and she's leaving. So I think the same thing is happening to Elise Stefanik. Plus, she didn't get Trump support either. And then so those are some good signs. And I said, we don't talk about that enough. But I do understand that this administration, and particularly Trumpster, is throwing so much at us that we don't know which way to go. But what we should look at is the big overall picture. This man knows he's going to die. He knows he's sick, too. He knows he's going to die. So what he's trying to do is just what he's been doing is branding. So that's why he put his name on the Kennedy Center. That's why he's trying to build the East Wing that we're probably going to tear down, but maybe not. And so we're stuck with this. So legacy that he built that whatever he's going to build. So he's just trying to leave behind something to make people still remember him because he's really going to be forgotten. But those are my thoughts. And so I just want to keep up the positive side of it all. Yes, it's a lot. But, as Black people, we're used to dealing with a lot. We've overcome
wait a
so
second.
much
How's that
more.
mayor doing? Your mayor-elect doing?
He's doing great. Oh, he's doing great. People are anticipating when he gets in January, when he takes over. He's done so much while he's after his election. He's done more after his election for the city than what the mayors have done for 4 years in office. But I also want to say that Madani is smart. He put his team together like on day 2. And the team is mostly these amazing Black women, amazing women of color. And he has all ethnicities in his transition team and his upcoming staff. I mean, he's doing phenomenal. If every governor or mayor or whoever ran their organization like he's running his, we wouldn't be in this mess. But thank you for listening. Any other questions?
One thing too that's important by MTG is that she waited until she got her full 5 years in Congress, so she'd be eligible for the retirement benefits for the rest of her life. So I
Correct.
thought that that's why she staged this to wait until January of next year. And but the other thing, though, is that I think that, at least so you know, Renee, I know a lot of Republicans. I have a lot of Republican friends, and they're traditional Republicans that were the Lincoln Republican, not the Trump Republican type, right? And
Right.
they're quite frankly, they're exhausted for all the crazy things he's doing. And they see this as an abuse of power, you know. And when you look at what has occurred, is they were showing the education level of the voters in the last election. And it was astonishing to me that the Trump voters were the people that were the high school dropout or the education level generally didn't exceed the 12th grade. And I was looking at those statistics, it was startling to me. And so it seemed like the more educated people are, more unlikely they are to vote for Trump. And you see that trend. And so, coupled with the fact that most people, I think, see large scale criminality occurring on a daily basis. And so I think that what people are looking at is that in the future, if the Democrat win control of the House and the Senate, you're going to see nonstop criminal type investigation for 2 years, nonstop. Every day is going to be a story on TV about what's happening in congressional hearings or Senate hearing about these widespread criminality. And I think that it could be exhausting, and I can understand why some people say, the heck with that, it's not worth it anymore.
I agree with you on that. And I think the other thing, too, is that he knows it's coming. I don't even know if the man is going to make it up 2026, but he knows it's coming. And so, you know, we just got to take it one day at a time, as parents used to tell us. But anyway, I'm going to get off the phone and let you take another caller.
Thank you. Pierre Pullins, question or
Thank
comment
you.
today, sir?
Oh, good afternoon, everybody, or good morning. A couple things I wanted to say. I wanted to focus on the race down there in Texas. We got, Jasmine Crockett running for Senate now. But she's running against, I think she's in the same race as James Tallarico. And I tell you, Tallarico is the Democrat that we need down there to deal with those Texans. And that's going to be something to watch. I like Jasmine Crockett, but I like James Tallarico. And then I was watching Governor Wes Moore vetoed the reparations bill that the Maryland Senate sent to him. Great move on his part, trying to hang that reparations millstone around a black man who has the potential of running for president one day. You see how I just think was a bad move on our part, on the part of the Maryland legislators to do that. And just wanted to get your thoughts on those two races. And the Democrats really need to hone in and show that Trump has lost it. And when we look at him renaming the Kennedy Center, the Trump Kennedy Center, I mean, if that doesn't get it done for us, I just don't know what will. And I'll end my call there. You hear me?
Yes. Thanks.
Oh, okay.
First of all, I'll take the latter comment first. Our caller's latter comment regarding the Kennedy Center, another travesty, right? And again, it's all about marketing and branding. The Kennedy Center is intended and established by Congress as a memorial to John F. Kennedy. Period, full stop. Congress established it, and also I think there was an amendment to the legislation which states that no other memorials can be erected regarding President John F. Kennedy, in addition to the Kennedy Center. And so the placement of his name on the front of that building Friday, memorial building, it's just shameful and unacceptable. Of course, the family of John F. Kennedy has called this out, and I've been looking at just lots of comments across the country, citizen comments. You know, some people are saying, well, he has done a lot, raised a lot of funds to renovate the center. But analogously, if I give a big donation to my church, or if I give a big donation to a nonprofit, that doesn't entitle me to say, okay, now it's mine and I'm going to put my name on it. And so what he is doing is absolute because of the legislation existing that established the Kennedy Center. So again, we have to step up, call it out. There will probably be some preservation institution that will file a lawsuit, like the current lawsuit that has been filed by one of the national preservation agencies as a result of him tearing down the East Wing. He's violating laws. The regulations require that there be consultation with various institutions. The East Wing doesn't belong to any one person. It belongs to the people. And so the people should also be consulted. So all of these things are unlawful, unconstitutional, and we're calling it out on this platform. And back to Renee, she's absolutely right. What I'm grateful for is, as we continue our holiday season, I'm grateful for those lower courts that are pushing back. I'm grateful for those plaintiffs that are joining and participating in class action lawsuits against these illegal actions that are being taken. I'm grateful for the 4 federal employees that filed a class action suit asserting that the president's executive orders directing agencies to eliminate DEI-related policies, offices, and jobs violates their rights to First Amendment free speech and association. And so these mass firings are violating federal law, targeting federal workers. I am grateful that Jasmine Crockett is running for Senate. And I'm also grateful that African American women are running for office. And there's a report that I was trying to find so I could post in the chat box, which states that over 500 African American women were elected at the local, state, and federal level in 2025. And so those are some of the things that I'm grateful for. I'm also grateful for the fact that we are stepping up to support our communities, our families that are suffering during this time period as well, through our generous contributions to our neighbors and our friends.
Yeah, I just wanted to just say briefly that, in terms of the action of the president and renaming the Kennedy Center, it just really kind of dovetails in our prior argument about there being 3 branches of government: the executive, judicial, and legislative branch. And the legislative branch has passed a statute rules regarding this Kennedy Center. And then we have the executive just ignoring that. So this is certainly problematic. it kind of goes to our earlier comment that we're really kind of seeping into authoritarianism. And then I just want to comment briefly. I think it was Renee's comment. I think focusing in on Trump is important, and some of the things that he's done have been very damaging for our country, many, if not most. But we have to be careful and not really focusing so much on Trump that we don't really forget the problem is Trumpism. And the similar example I'll give you is that many of us railed against Rush Limbaugh, who just spewed a lot of hatred on talk radio, and who was listening to him every day during high school. That was Charlie Kirk. And he was a disciple and started spewing a lot of that same dogmas politics. So we need to really kind of think about the same thing in terms of our president really addressing some of these arguments and making sure people understand that they really have no merit and they're certainly inconsistent with applicable law. And then in terms of just being grateful, just being grateful being on the platform and grateful for this great holiday season and grateful for being an attorney and being able to help.
Okay, caller, you have a question or comment for us today. Go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Guy calling. Season's greetings to everybody. Merry Christmas and all. Just wanted to say that, a lot of on the federal level particularly, but even throughout the governmental system, I think what we're finding out the flaws and what we have to correct is like sort of like when you build a house and then when it rains, you find out that it's leaking in some places. So I guess it's part of the process in a way, but it's kind of embarrassing. And a lot of people are looking at Trump and his kind of what I call boorish behavior. But I think that there needs to be more emphasis on things like the Supreme Court, let us say, and their decisions. Like if you look through the history of the Supreme Court, what is history going to say about their giving him carte blanche and other things that they're doing, even though they have a right to, I guess, the way the process is. But I think there needs to be more publicity on their decisions, as like the poor decisions of the court in the past. And then also, I'd like to say, I don't know if you've ever heard about Robert Henderson, but he has a series of books out about what he calls the courts of heaven, and it tells about how heaven looks at various things going on in the world. So again, I just want to wish everybody happy holidays.
Thank you, Guy, and same to you.
Hey, our attorney's last statement before Christmas. Go ahead, make your statement. For me and my family, I like to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for listening to our show. We don't forget that do something good for people in your community if you're in a position to do so. There's a lot of human suffering that we see on a daily basis, and try to do the small part. And also, I encourage everyone to make sure that you go out and get your friends and neighbors, make sure they're registered to vote. Next year is the most important election in our life, and I really mean it. It really is. Each election becomes more important, but you must participate. And I pass on to Attorney Banks. Go ahead.
First, I want to thank again our listening audience as well. Thank you for your engagement over the years. Thank you, Attorney Lee, for having me as a guest on your program. And from Vanita and family, I wish everyone a very Merry Christmas, New Year. And also, I'm going to be more focused on the principles of Kwanzaa this year, because I think there's a lot baked in to those principles that support our self determination, and economic power. Thank you again.
Attorney Prime.
Thank you. Thank you again, Attorney Lee, Attorney Van Sertima. Things to think about in terms of this year. I think the things that we need to really think about is really supporting our institutions. Our institutions were created at the turn of the last century when things were even worse than they are now. So think about your church, think about our historically Black colleges and universities. If you're a member of fraternity, sorority, or professional organizations, hey, these are organizations that were established to be in the gap to help our people. Be a better member, be a committee member, support people that are running for office. Those are the things that can really be of great assistance. And most importantly, support your church. This was at the vanguard in terms of our civil rights movement, being involved with the committee, making sure that you tie, and last but not least, support your families.
Well, thank you, everyone, once again. Next week, we'll be off for Christmas, and don't forget the things I said. We'll rejoin you on January 3rd, 2026. By then, stay safe, go out and do something good for your community, encourage your friends and neighbors to vote, and may God bless and keep you to once again, we talk in 2026. Thank you, everyone, and have a blessed holiday. Take care.